Hey Blue Table fans, welcome to my front porch. I'm just going to talk about anything and everything gaming related that happens to pop into my head. I usually like to keep things on a positive note, but I have to express irritation over special characters. You know, let me just start this over. I started in, I guess, miniatures battles back in '96. That's my best recollection of the actual year, when some friends of mine showed up to one of our role-playing game sessions with a white dwarf. And since then it occurred to me that miniatures battles are effectively a type of role-playing. You know, you don't get very deep into it, but people definitely do express their personalities as you know, a manifestation in their army. That in a way, building an army is kind of like building a character, and you create a little fantasy world when you're playing a game with that army. And really, it would be lame to have a role-playing game where you had to play pre-made characters for it. And that's what kind of gets on my nerves about special characters. Like in the Eldar list, you know, Eldrad Ulthuan is a great choice and a lot of fun in the game, and definitely rounds out the Eldar list. But, you know, fluff-wise, people like me, I just have a hard time getting around it. That, you know, I have to, you know, somehow in my mind make a reason why he would be with this army, even though it's perfectly legal to do that. So usually when I make my army list, I'll go in and actually change the names. I'll change Eldrad's name to the name of my Farseer, for example. Now War Machine really is a great game, and Privateer Press is really a great company. But something that has really just irked me about their games is they have nothing except named characters. Tons of named characters. And I'm thinking, you know, that's great for you guys. You know, let us make up some stuff. And so I do the same thing there, too, as I make up my own backstory and history, and I convert the models and then just do them plays as. So definitely in a lot of these other games I'd like to see some customization. And I think that's where one way that Games Workshop has really hit it out of the park, so to speak, is they've allowed people their creativity. And this might even go as far as being sort of a human element, which is that humans need to create things. We like to make something new, make something original. And that's what I've really loved all these years about working in the miniatures battles profession, is that I've been able to create armies. And each army really it's a work of art, it's themed, it has a concept, and you know, I usually have about, you know, 4 to 6 different army ideas going at a given time. Warhammer Fantasy is going to be out in about 6 weeks, and boy, my brain is just going to be in overdrive. You guys have seen a lot of my themed armies, the Oceanic Eldar, the Fate Weavers, and so forth. But another issue is that the lists are limiting, that you, in a way, I have to live in someone else's fantasy world when I'm playing Warhammer. I have to play one of the races they came up with. And I find that pretty, I guess, constricting, you might say. So this has given rise, recently I've thought, well, you know, Warhammer has become effectively the game everyone plays. So in a way they're a generic system. And recently you've seen a lot of companies coming out with alternate figurines. And in one case, I won't name any names, they don't even have a system for the figurines they are making. It's just patently supposed to be cheaper than Games Workshop figures. Not that I think GW figures are overpriced at all. In fact, I think GW's doing a great job there, but I digress. It's that Warhammer can't, they've achieved sort of a market domination to some extent, but they have inadvertently become the generic system. Like in my line of work, I get people quite often that say, hey, I'm building a such and such army, but I'm using these figures, and they tell me what their counts as army is. And way back when confrontation wasn't dumb, meaning they were publishing reliably good figures, I had several armies that were made using those figures, and I still have the intention of doing accounts as army using those figures at some point in the future, even though they're discontinued. More about that later. So back to a generic system, I thought, wouldn't it be great if there was just a generic miniatures battle system where there were no army lists. You would create your army list from the same you know, say 50 different entries, and that all the different entries would be generic. So like it would have, you could take cavalry, and then the cavalry would have a point cost, and then below that there would be like 20, not 20, maybe like 10 different options for them. You know, they could have poisoned attacks, for example. I'm just pulling this off the top of my head. They could have faster movement. They could, you know, have be able to move through forests without penalty. And so you have an army list where instead of 20 or 30 entries for the whole game, you had a master army list with maybe something like 40 to 60 different entries, or maybe 20 entries each with 10 to 20 different options to them. So basically what you do is you would create your own army list out of these options. In other words, the playing field would be perfectly level. Now, of course, this creates a problem of people who, you know, they build one army and they would they'd be using a different army list for every game, so you wouldn't know what you were looking at any given moment. Of course, there's a ways around that, and maybe that's not even a bad thing. But that's what I've been thinking recently. I'd actually like to write that system just for kicks, and just say, you know, grab whatever figs you want and let's play. And I've even had the very naughty idea of forcing playtests of it using my D&D game as a surrogate. That we'd have a session here and there where there would be like a larger battle, and we'd just use this different generic system for it. So that's something that's been on my mind recently, because I certainly don't like being limited with the figures that I use. That's one reason I don't go to tournaments. It's because I want to use the figures I want to use. I want to play the game how I want to play it. And that's really in the beauty of miniatures battles. You get to kind of do what you want. Now, my next thought would be that in a way, Dungeons & Dragons is my favorite miniatures battles game of all time. You don't have to paint a lot of figures for it. You get to paint a few new things every week and use them. I get to make everything up that I want. I don't have to, you know, conform to a preset rule set. You know, the game master can, okay, I'm a dungeon master. I'm 41 and I'm a dungeon master. That I can change the rules even, you know, as I see fit. So I guess in that sense, D&D 4th edition is my favorite miniatures battles game. And I really think that's all I got to say today. You'll excuse me if you hear me huffing and puffing a bit. I'm pacing around on my front lawn while I'm doing this, because it helps us ADHD types focus when our bodies are moving. So yeah, I definitely can't sit and make these recordings. Well, I'm almost out of time. I hope you have enjoyed this audio segment.